Hi everyone, my name is Raneem and today I'll be presenting my final video presentation for the POS 435 Women and Politics class. The option I decided to go with was the women and men's differing ambition levels, and it stated, what do you think is the most compelling theory as to why women and men have differing ambition levels, and how could this difference affect public policy in at least 3 ways? So I'd like to start off with a quote from the Wallace and Fox It Still Takes a Candidate book that I found summed up the concept of these ambition levels very well. It said, women are less likely than men to be recruited to run for office, they're less likely than men to think they're qualified to run for office, and they're less likely than men to express a willingness to run for office in the future. This gender gap in political ambition persists across generations and over time. So again, I found that this quote was summed up the general concept of the ambition differing levels, and was a good way to start this. So throughout my research, I have concluded that the number one theory as to why women and men have differing ambition levels is the traditional gender socialization theory. So throughout this video, I'll explain how I felt that was the most relatable theory to this concept. So under that theory, the first concept was the traditional family roles. The second one was the masculinized ethos, and then the third one was the gendered psyche. So I'll go ahead and start off by talking about the traditional family roles. In our modern day society, present day society, and societies from past and previous generations, we've always had this thought implemented to our mentalities that the men were basically the providers for the household from outside the house. They were the ones involved in the workforce. They're the ones that are basically bringing in all the financial and monetary support to the house. Meanwhile, the woman, her role was to basically provide for the household from inside, and she was the one that's the primary caretaker for the kids, basically all around just taking care of the house from inside. This, I feel like, was a huge reason that there is a lack of ambition for women in pursuing these careers. In an article by Carlin Bowman in Forbes, she said a significant number of Americans, still frowned on women working in any occupation outside the home. 34% of Americans told pollsters from the National Opinion Research Center that they disapproved of married women getting jobs if their husbands were capable of supporting them. A third nationally in another question from the time agreed that women should take care of running their homes and leave running the country up to men. So I personally feel like that's a huge discouragement towards women. That doesn't necessarily make them motivated to, partake in these political fields or these public policy, running for office or any of that stuff or any of that sort, because they're just so, that's almost like another third job to them. They still got to take care of the house. They've still got to take care of their family. How are they going to be able to add another thing towards all that on their plate? Moving on, I'll go ahead and talk about the masculinized ethos. The masculinized ethos is exactly what it's called. It's basically also ingrained very much so in the traditional gendered socialization theory. In the book, they also give an example of the masculinized ethos, saying when individuals consider running for office and launching successful campaigns, they must rely on the support of numerous political institutions. Most of these institutions are dominated by men and ultimately embody a perpetually ingrained ethos of masculinity. So basically the thought and concept of the political field and the public policy is it's thought of as aggressive, as harsh, and these are all terms that we describe something masculine. Just like if you were to lift weights or any of that, it's basically considered a masculine thing. It's something for men, not necessarily for women. So another thing that's been implemented to our heads by society is that if it's so masculinized, then it's not necessarily a woman's job. It's not in her role. It's not a role for her to play. That's the outlook on masculinized ethos. There is a book called Masculinity, Femininity, and American Political Behavior by Monica McDermott, and she quotes the term masculinized ethos by Wallace and Fox and says that most would argue that American politics very much do follow this masculinized ethos concept. Now going on to the last one, the gendered psyche, which is very much a combination of the two. Basically, it's the thought or the concept, it's also very much embedded into our society. Lawless and Fox say that it's the presence of traditional gender role expectations and the dominance of a masculinized ethos culminate to create and sustain the gendered psyche, a deeply embedded imprint that propels men into politics but relegates women to the electoral arena's periphery. So basically this quote was expressing that the gendered psyche very much so favors men. It's basically ever since they were, they've always been driven or been exposed to the political field. They've been told that they can do it, they should do it, they've been motivated to do it, as opposed to women where they are basically just in the outskirts and in the boundaries of this electoral arena, as Lawless and Fox termed it. So all three of those things I feel like have a huge impact on ambition differing levels. And now I'd like to go ahead and talk about what I find personally would be solutions to these problems. So the number one solution I found was, or I concluded with, was the underrepresentation of women in media coverage. It plays a huge role. When there is no media coverage, all these women don't have a symbol. They're not going to be looking up to anyone. There's nothing for them to see in their day-to-day lives that would make them, motivated or encourage them to run for office. So I feel if there's more media coverage, that would change. The second thing was the implementing these thoughts into the youth's mentalities at a younger age. So as we've all experienced or seen, when a younger child is exposed or introduced to something, they're more curious to know about that, and they're more eager to learn about it, and maybe one day they'll be taking those steps to successfully strive into that career, into that field. So implementing these ideas and thoughts to the youth's mentalities is also a huge way to change these ambition levels and maybe get rid of them all in all and completely. That is all I have for you guys today. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and see you next time. Bye.